There's no place like home. This popular adage reminds us of the comfort and security a home should provide. But for most of us, getting to enjoy the benefits of home ownership will demand many sacrifices, and we could certainly benefit from some help to get us over the threshold. Well, keep watching and we'll show you how government is providing that help to facilitate an ownership society this fiscal year. Hi there, I'm Adrian Atkins and welcome to Jamaica Magazine. On today's show, we're also dealing with the importance of having property insurance, plus the Bureau of Standards tells us how to ensure building blocks are safe for construction. Those and more are coming up, but to see it all, you must stick around, so sit back and relax.
The Passport Immigration and Citizenship Agency PICA is committed to quality customer service. The recently announced increases in passport fees will now take effect on Monday, June 1. As of that date, it will cost $6,500 for an adult passport and $4,000 for a passport for a minor. To better serve members of the public who need to get or renew their passports, from Tuesday, May 26 to Friday, May 29, PICA will accept and process passport applications at the National Indoor Sports Center starting at 6 a.m. daily. The Passport Immigration and Citizenship Agency PICA, securing our borders, safeguarding our sovereignty.
The Housing Ministry is giving more Jamaicans the opportunity to become a part of the ownership society. More people are getting access to land and completed housing units to begin living out their dreams. Take a look at the solutions to facilitate growth in the 2015-2016 fiscal year.
The path to growth hinges on the provision of shelter and security of tenure for all Jamaicans. Evidence of our commitment is demonstrated across the length and breadth of this country as we build one community at a time.
And the building continues in fiscal year 2015-2016. Through the Housing Agency of Jamaica, the Ministry of Transport, Works and Housing will be delivering 324 shelter solutions at Green Pond in St. James this fiscal year. They're not the only ones. 170 houses will be built in Mosquito Cove, Hanover, 200 at Shooters Hill Phase 1 in St. Catherine, and another 100 at Namperial in Westmoreland. More houses will be provided through public-private partnerships.
The agency will commence delivery of approximately another 900 solutions within the next 12 months across 3 parishes. Projects include Reed's Pen in St. Catherine, Penwood Road in St. Andrew, and Vernon Drive in St. James, all of which have reached significant design stage.
The Jamaica Mortgage Bank has committed $1.5 to $2 billion to help more Jamaicans access affordable and decent housing solutions this fiscal year. The financing could spur construction for 600 to 700 additional housing solutions. But that's not all.
Under that facility, the Jamaica Mortgage Bank will make funds available to financial intermediaries for on-lending to their customers as a home deposit loan. The maximum amount which will be given as a loan will not exceed 5% of the sale price of the property, and the property being acquired should not exceed $15 million.
The Ministry of Transport, Works and Housing is determined to increase the housing stock for persons in the low and lower middle income groups. In partnership with other government and non-government agencies, lands have been identified to produce 5,962 lots under the low-income housing project. 3,010 are to be designed and developed in the first phase of the program.
These lots will be utilized to construct housing units under the joint Ministry of Transport, Works and Housing, the Housing Agency of Jamaica, Food for the Poor program, and the National Housing Trust Small Contractor program.
$7.86 billion will be used to establish the lots, while a little more than $5 billion will fund the construction of housing units.
$3.9 will be required in this financial year. Of the total amount, the National Housing Trust will provide a total of $3.9 billion over a 3-year period, which will leave a deficit of $9 billion, for which funding will be sought from other sources, one of which is the Petro-Caribe Fund.
Many Jamaicans will also gain access to affordable solutions through several projects being pursued by the National Housing Trust this fiscal year. Among them, 60 residential lots at Shrewsbury, Westmoreland, 10 at Wikiwaki 2, St Andrew, 120 at Sevens 1 in Clarendon, and 28 at Merrifield in St Catherine. Through its infill housing program, the ministry has also identified residual plots of land within existing housing schemes, which will be developed to put more affordable solutions on the market.
147A Albion Heights, St James, where there is to be constructed a 9 townhouse complex. Chippenham Park, St Anne, 16 lots. Lee Park in Westmoreland, 70 lots. Yes. Bramley St Anne, 27 lots. And Greenwich Park Phase 1, 18 lots. A total of $139 million.
A big part of the housing plans involves dealing with informal settlements. A typology on squatting island-wide continues this year. Infrastructure work also continues to develop and regularize existing informal settlements. And under the Squatter Management Program, 34 serviced lots will be developed in Hatfield, Westmoreland at a cost of $15 million.
This fiscal year, Mr. Speaker, the ministry will continue to pursue the acquisition of properties under the Local Improvements Community Amenities Act. As part of the ministry's trust to address informal settlements, approximately $37 million has been set aside to facilitate the acquisition and regularization of properties.
676 solutions which were approved by Cabinet for divestment will be put on the market. The ministry is also partnering with the United Nations Settlement Program, UN Habitat, to implement the second phase of the participatory slum upgrading program. As more houses are being built for Jamaicans, others are finally getting their proof of ownership through the National Land Titling Program. The goal is to deliver 15,000 titles annually. At all levels of society, the government is helping more Jamaicans achieve the basic human right of shelter.
Hello? What is that? Me I come, hold on, me I come.
There is no excuse for speeding. In 2014, 330 persons died in road accidents. 65 persons were motorcyclists. So stop speeding. Motorcyclists and pillion passengers, wear your helmet, ride carefully, and kill your speed before it kills you. Remember, road safety begins with you.
None of us want to be in a position where we buy building material, like concrete blocks, put up a lovely structure, and then it all comes crumbling down. That can happen if concrete blocks are not made to required standards. But how do we know they are of the required standards? Well, first, check to make sure they are certified by the Bureau of Standards. Here's more.
BSJ, making standards work for you.
The Bureau of Standards, BSJ, delivers products and services of the highest quality to its valued clientele. The Bureau ensures high standards in the construction industry through services provided by its technical teams, such as those in the Civil Engineering Unit. A critical factor in construction is concrete strength. Poor mixtures affect the strength of the structures they're used to build and can cause failures, as simple as flaking or as detrimental as collapse.
Together, it gives you a proper, dense concrete.
The civil engineering labs are equipped to conduct quality tests on ready-mixed concrete. The Bureau of Standards uses a variety of concrete cubes and cylinder molds, vibrators and other necessary equipment to determine the strength of concrete during its placement on site as well as for testing in the lab. Fresh concrete mix is poured into these molds and once formed are tested for compressive strength. In other words, how much pressure the concrete can take before failing.
Concrete strength test, which is known also as compressive strength test, is particularly important in the construction of high-rise building, bridges, and we would advise all contractors to contact the Bureau of Standards for more information for compressive strength tests. These tests are very important to prevent escalation in costs in case there is any mishap. Knowing the strength from early out, the contractor can take a decision whether to bill or not to bill and correct his or her fault if there is any.
The Bureau of Standards has purchased its first concrete core drill, enabling the agency to take core samples from existing concrete structures for compressive strength testing. Concrete core testing involves removing a part of the concrete by drilling out a core from the building to check the product's strength.
The core test is usually done on structural concrete that are already placed in the structure, for example, beam and columns, floors and roof, and that can be very costly.
But after you've completed construction without having the earlier cube and cylinder tests done, you want to be sure and verify that your concrete structure is strong. There should be no signs of weakness such as sinks or curves.
You see flaking in the concrete, you see cracking. That can be an indication of a weak concrete, and then hence you would have to take a core test, which can be very costly. So I would suggest to all persons, try and start with the fresh concrete.
And this, of course, means requesting the Bureau to carry out cube and cylinder testing early in your construction project. Curb wall testing is another vital service which is provided by the Civil Engineering Unit at the Bureau of Standards, Jamaica. Many of us know curb walls from road construction, sidewalks, driveways in many office complexes, and large premises such as hospitals, schools, and apartment housing.
Curb wall is subject to water, the weathering. For example, erosion. When you have heavy rains, the water that run along the gutter will erode the curb wall. If the curb wall is not properly constructed, meaning of the proper strength, then erosion will take place and the curb wall will disintegrate very quickly. Sometimes a vehicle may turn off the road and run over the curb wall, which may result in breakage of the curb wall. With this service, manufacturers of curb walls can deliver a higher quality product by knowing beforehand the quality of the product.
Let the Bureau of Standards make standards work for you. Be assured of the best quality construction material guaranteed by certification and registration. Position yourself as the choice among traders, contractors, and builders. Mark our word, standards can work for you.
Fear of natural disasters and the potential loss of property might be a major push for persons getting property insurance. A significant drawback could be affordability, but there are some legal issues about making this important decision to safeguard your biggest investment. We'll now explore those matters of justice as it relates to property insurance.
Hello? Yes. You heard? Yeah, man. That's how it goes, you know? Anyway, I have to run now, I'm going to the insurance company today. Yeah, we'll talk later, okay?
Is everything alright where popping?
Well, I'm trying, It's a lucky thing I insured the house.
That's so true, that's so true.
Only this? This can't even buy up my furniture.
But remember now, Mrs. Wright, only the house was insured.
My God, I can't believe.
Mrs. Wright is not the first homeowner to get a loss when her assets are damaged, and she discovers that her insurance policy is not adequate security. In this episode of Justice Matters, decoding property insurance and choosing the right policy to suit your lifestyle. Living within a small island state, homeowners are at risk whenever a disaster strikes, more so within the hurricane season, June to November. Then there are the earthquakes that can occur at any time. For this reason, many have sought the protection of their valuable assets. But as in the case of Mrs. Wright, there are varying degrees of property insurance. A policy may cover all things within the boundaries of the premises, even your visitors. Or
you don't have to insure everything. So if you want to insure just the contents of your home, you may do that. When you insure the contents of your home, you can also include the general contents, as we would refer to it, being your fridge and your stove and your chairs.
Insurance companies and their clients sometimes find themselves at odds, even with the best intentions on both sides. In such a situation, the Financial Services Commission is there to help. At the FSC, the Insurance Division's primary responsibility is to protect the interest of policyholders. The division gets its powers from the Insurance Act.
But what we do, if we find that insurance company is in the wrong, then we instruct them to make amends and to do the right thing. When the FSC gives an instruction, it can be interpreted as what legally as a direction, and a breach of a direction can attract penalties.
Insurance companies have found too that persons don't always disclose the truth when the policy is being created. Don't hold back information because you're afraid of an increase in the premium.
What it is you have not disclosed may be so important that we may be in a position to say we are not honoring this claim.
The point is, communicate well with the insurance company and thoroughly read the contract.
They use here and after and all sorts of terminology with a lot of people, which are boring, which people don't understand. But the good thing is that probably over the last 10-15 years, a lot of companies have started preparing their contracts in plain English so that, people like yourself and myself can understand them.
Questions must be asked at the processing phase to ensure that the information provided is accurate and understood.
People buy insurance without doing the necessary homework. They don't understand the nuances of insurance. They don't do any research.
Phrases such as deductible, average clause, and the sum insured are critical to what a policyholder may get in hand in the event of a loss.
A deductible requires that you pay that portion first before your policy responds. The normal deductible on a homeowner's policy is 2%. So if you're insured for $2 million, you will be required to pay the first $40,000. If you do not insure for the full value, the company will only pay the portion for which you are insured. For properties valued $10 million and you're insured for $7 million, you're insured for 70%, so if you have a claim, we will pay 70% of your claim.
What I've found in practice over the years is that people in selecting the amount of insurance to buy, normally they tend to just pick a figure out of the air and say this is what the house is worth. The value that you insure for should not be selected arbitrarily. It should be arrived at by taking into consideration what it's likely to cost to replace that structure.
As for National Housing Trust mortgages, the insured amount is also based on the property's worth at the time of valuation. So NHT homeowners are advised to carry out a valuation of the property during the life of the loan.
The mortgagor's property is covered for the full reinstatement value of the property, meaning the cost to replace that property if it is totally destroyed.
Do your research. Be honest with your insurance provider and ensure that your policy covers the full value of the sum insured. Measles, mumps, and rubella are potentially dangerous childhood diseases. Parents, ensure your children get the MMR vaccine to protect them. The first shot should be given when children are between 12 and 15 months old, and another before they start school. Women of childbearing age should also ensure they get the MMR vaccine, as they could transmit dangerous conditions to their children if infected while pregnant. To know more, visit your nearest clinic or health center or contact the Ministry of Health.
Finance Minister anticipates lower interest rates in banking sector and lower house passes legislation to speed up transfer of inheritance. We recap those and other news developments next.
Hi there, I'm Simone Wolf with your JIS News of the Week. Thousands came out on Monday to work on projects across the island as the country observed Labor Day 2015. Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller led activities at the national project at the Rudolph Elder Park in St. Thomas.
It's about Jamaica and our Jamaican children and the future leaders of this country.
Other projects included rebuilding the homes of persons affected by fire and beautification of the Jamaica Christian Boys' Home in the corporate area. Further afield, a park was built in Portmore, and the Grove Mount Early Childhood Institution in Manchester got new bathrooms. The Palmer's Park Playfield and Community Centre in St. Mary was also rehabilitated, and in Clarendon, work started towards upgrading the Raymond's Community Centre into a resource centre with internet access and other amenities for young people. The Bank of Jamaica BOJ this week said it was forecasting that Jamaica would maintain its single-digit inflation rate as government continues to implement the economic reform program.
We are forecasting that 12-month inflation is going to fall below 3% by September, before rising moderately in the second half to end the fiscal year between 5.5% and 7.5%.
The BOJ governor said that based on the central bank's survey, businesses had also lowered their inflation expectations for the next 12 months to 5.1%, the lowest in the history of the survey.
This is a very positive development. The fact that inflation expectations have fallen is an indication that the business community is sensing that we are in a new economic environment and that fundamental economic changes are taking place in Jamaica. With perceptions now catching up with reality, it promises to make monetary policy easier, and that is good news indeed for everyone.
In other good news for the economy, United States ratings agency Moody's upgraded Jamaica's government bond rating and government-related entities from CAA2 to CAA3. This means that Jamaica's outlook remains positive and the country will sustain the reform momentum under the economic reform program, which is supported by the International Monetary Fund. In a release, Moody's said its decision to upgrade Jamaica was driven by two main factors: debt reduction and a commitment to structural reforms, as well as improvements in the balance of payments and reduced risks. Both houses of Parliament have now passed legislation to establish a Revenue Appeals Division to settle disputes involving taxpayers and the tax authorities. The Revenue Appeals Division Act 2015 will pave the way for the Revenue Appeals Division to be set up in the Finance Ministry.
The division will be headed by a Chief Technical Director, who will be known as the Commissioner of Revenue Appeals.
The new entity will replace the Taxpayer Appeals Department to ensure a greater level of independence for settling tax disputes. Meanwhile, in Tuesday's sitting, the House of Representatives passed the Administrator General's Amendment Bill to speed up the process of transferring inherited estates or lands.
This bill will transform lives as it will release productive assets to the rightful owners, which have been tied up for years.
70 residents of Western Jamaica are now proud landowners following a recent titling ceremony by the National Land Agency. Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller urged the recipients who hail from the parishes of St. James, Westmoreland, Hanover and Trelawney to register their lands.
Land titling will continue to be high on the agenda of the government, and we encourage more landowners to secure titles for their properties. And I want to make one point. When we are dealing with land titles and distribution, no politics is involved. I don't care what people support. All Jamaicans are entitled to own a piece of this rock.
And finally, government will be rolling out more than $1 billion in infrastructure projects under the Major Infrastructure Development Program MIDP in the next week. At a recent contract signing, the Portfolio Minister Dr. Omar Davies said the sum allocated would build bridges and improve roadways in 5 parishes: Portland, Westmoreland, Clarendon, Hanover and St. James. The MIDP is funded by the China Exim Bank and the government of Jamaica to the tune of $352 million. The project is being executed by the National Works Agency. And those were some of the stories making news this week. I'm Simone Wolf.
We want a productive Jamaica. We all are productive Jamaicans. Productivity to move forward on this land. Productivity, that's the way to go, we should understand. Productivity is the way to go for all us Jamaicans. Small business, big business, old and young, we are tell every woman and man. We want growth and prosperity for a better nation with a building plan. So we can build our product and sell our product and put more money in our hand. Our economy can rise to a level and build a better nation. Productivity to move forward on this land. Productivity, that's the way to go, we should understand. Productivity to move forward on this land. Productivity, that's the way to go, we should understand. Productivity.
Productivity, pathway to prosperity. A message brought to you by the Jamaica Productivity Center, a department of the Ministry of Labor and Social Security.
This is where we close Jamaica Magazine for today. We'll be back tomorrow with more useful information. In the meantime, keep the link. Use our Facebook and Twitter pages, YouTube channel and the GIS website to stay in touch and get the very latest government information. On behalf of the entire team here at the GIS, I'm Adrian Atkinson, thanking you for watching.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.